Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of Day 9 Daily number 537, where we learn to be a better gamer. We're looking at a variety of openings from White Raw and Heart of the Swarm, and making sure we think about how we are accounting for the possibilities that our opponent could be doing, how our decisions have natural consequences to them. I elect to open air, therefore I must defend, attack, blah, with this response. Oh yes, and managing of our economy. If we spend all our gas, what are we spending our minerals on? If we're spending our minerals, what are we doing with our gas? And because I know you want to, because of the jacket, this jacket is fine. Let's go ahead and look at another game from White Raw on, what is it, Newkirk City, I think is the name of the map. And on this game, Newkirk City, we're going to see White Raw go for, again, a very early expand. We're going to start to see that his openings are a little bit more based on principles than upon ultra-strict guidelines. Nothing like, oh my god, you have to throw down your expansion at 3 minutes and 18 seconds, and if you are 4 seconds late, then lows, look at your non-optimality. No, none of that. It's just general conceptual stuff, which is good for everybody. Mitsure is one of these gentlemen who's been doing a lot of cute builds on .ladder. He's been doing a lot of experimenting with various compositions. Plays pretty damn high from what I remember, I think. I'm pretty sure he's Master, Grandmaster, Heart of the Swarm. I don't know if that really, if anyone knows what Master or Grandmaster means at this point yet, but that's fine. He's solid. Okay, so White Rock comes in. He's built this pylon. If he sees a 6 pool, 10 pool, early pool, he'll go forge first. He sees Donata. Sees nothing, no pool, no gas. Goes ahead and scouts, and oh, it's a hatch first play. And you can always tell because the hatch is going down before 3 minutes. A long time before 3 minutes. White Rod doing a check around. Completely makes sense to get this Nexus first. Most people freak out and go, oh my god, I'm going to build a forge and then I'm going to cannon rush him because I want to grow up and be like Tasteless. Hated my brother for that. However, we're going to see White Raw, again, not say, what can I do to my opponent to exploit the situation, but instead say, well, what can I get away with? We see White Raw answer with another pylon before the forge. Excellent. Ends up doing another little poke in there. Look, there's the spawning pool. Started at a normal time for an early expander. So great, here comes White Raw. Boom! Gateway before forge. Second pylon before forge. First gateway before forge. Still checking, still investigating. There's the forge going down. Investigates, sees the drone transfer. You can see the wiggly woggliness of the hatchery to denote a queen being constructed. We see more wiggly woggliness. We see a second queen constructed. No gas, no gas. I'm feeling pretty good in White Raw's shoes. I'm feeling like there's not going to be an early attack. So watch what White Raw does. Cybernetics core before cannon. Completely and totally intuitive, given what we've sensed, or not sensed, given what we've seen, which I suppose is a form of sensing, because you're sensing it with your fucking eyes, right? You see that there's nothing that can attack you, so you sense that maybe you're not going to get attacked. I'm so glad that my clarity is unending. Regardless, White Raw spots himself at their third base, feeling good. Builds the Zealot, in case something arriveth. We got a little XP from building the Cybernetics core, which I don't know why I'm a sucker for that, but I am. So White Raw pulls back. He has his one single assimilator churning. He holds his watchtower, and boom, early expand yet again. Isn't that great? Isn't that fantastic? Nice, clean little thing, and we want to get our mothership core out. Oops, excuse me, wrong location. We want to get the mothership core out because that's one of our key defensive tools. Not just against small numbers of Zerglings, but also against doing this photon overcharge. White Rod just being somewhat of a doish, doing a little bit of pressure. So I want to note a couple of things. It's autopilot for many Protoss players to get the 2 refineries. However, White Raw said there's nothing you can pressure me with, so let me get an early Nexus. If you're getting an early 3rd Nexus, you don't want to over-invest in gas. This is something that I think is the core of all strategies, is how you're managing your resources and what you're doing with your resources. So given the fact that there's many new builds that are going to be happening in Heart of the Swarm, it's important not to fall into autopilot. Build 2 assimilators. You don't want to do that. First, because it hurts my throat, and I don't want to do it again. But here, White Raw, electing not to get the 2nd assimilator, gives him the extra minerals he needs to do this expand. And you can even do it in a responsive way. White Raw seeing, oh, there's nothing that can attack me. Let me just not build this 2nd assimilator. It's not strict build orders. It's just some intuitive stuff. And likewise, White Raw will begin not just freaking out and rushing all his gas geysers, but adding them on while still non-stop building probes and getting himself up a Stalker, getting himself up his expansion, just controlling this watchtower as well. Mothership Core plus Stalker combo is wicked good. Oh, so good. So now, White Raw has gotten himself up a very early expand. At this point in time, most early pressures we just don't even think can happen. Why? Because we saw 1, 2, 3 hatches. And the only early pressures he can really do are speedlings or slow roaches. And we have a damn photon overcharge. White Raw is still scouting, though, being a very responsible Protoss player. So here comes one of these moments where now White Raw, having gone 1 gas, triple expand, and then 1 gas, triple expand, and then taking all 4 gas geysers, now is doing what we would call a choice. White Raw wants to go for mass air. So there he is, going for it. Why is this okay? Because this defensive setup can about cover all our early scariness, given what we have seen. And now he is doing this choice. Getting up all the good Stargateness. Now, I'm going to pause it right before the Stargates are done. Yeah, right now. You're noticing something. I am stopping this at 9 minutes. This is the exact time that we stopped the game at in part number 1. Where, in part number 1, White Raw expanded, and I said, what now? We know that early roaches with speed, mutalisks, and hydralisks with speed and range are going to start to become a threat. So around 8:30 to 9 is when we have to begin making those preparations. So what is White Raw going to build out of his Stargate? Hell, he could go Mass Zergling. Maybe there's some Baneling things in there. Those are the big 3. Speed Roach, Speed Hydra with range, and Mutalisk. Those are probably the big 3 aggressive options. So what are we going to build? What are we going to build? We have chosen to build 3 Stargates, and we have 1 gateway. You can say something like Sentry Phoenix. You can use the gateway in there. But I want you to think about what would be the best. A lot of people would say Phoenix. A lot of people will say, wow, there's actually a pretty dang even distribution between Oracle, Phoenix, and Void Ray. So when we come back, I want you to note, most importantly of all, Oracles are sexy units. I like Oracles. That's a lie. I fucking love Oracles. I love Oracles. I'll totally throw out the goat for that. This is a goat. If any of you are into shadow puppets, this is the goat. How did we get so far into the tangent of shadow puppetry? He asked me what the transition was at 9 minutes, and now I know that this is the goat. I didn't know that before. We learn all sorts of shit on the Day 9 Daily. But in White Raw's composition, the reason Oracle is not the best is due to our money. We invested pretty heavily in the minerals early on so we could get this Nexus. We actually don't quite have enough to go for double Oracle. If, for instance, we'll note when these things finish up, that when these things are done, we could go for just double Oracle. We can't go for triple because we're broke. However, we could do something like go 2 gates, 4 regular gateways, and then go something like Oracle Zealot with some sentries. Do that composition. However, Phoenixes are going to have a lot of weakness against Roaches and Lings. They'll be strong against Mutas. So initially, White Raw, with his limited information, He just goes Void Ray. Very intuitive, and most importantly, it works with our resource distribution. Blind Void Rays. Just going straight into that. Doink, and we even have enough money to do that as well. One Phoenix, it's fine. I can say he is going Mass Void Ray because I've watched the replay. So I kind of have that little cheap extra bit of a plan. Why this first one? Well, hell, we get to do a little bit of scouting too. So this is going to defend us against all sorts of scariness that could be hurled at us early. And Whiterot, again, does one of these intuitive leaps. This is mainly a gas-heavy unit. Sure, it requires 250 minerals and 150 gas, but mainly gas is the constriction, so we'll have some extra minerals left over. Our gateways with zealots going to add to this composition. Should we add more cannons? Adding some gateways is fine, but Whiterot's already gearing up to take another expansion. I want to note the biggest reason we're taking the expansion is because of our money. That's the biggest reason. This is one of the biggest pleasures of working on probes and pylons, as I have said in many dailies. If you just build probes and build pylons, you'll suddenly have all this extra money. And then you can do all these extra amazing things, like take a fourth. At this point in time, Whiterot doesn't know anything. There's that early Phoenix. We're speeding it up. No need to belabor this point. Aha! He sees Mutalisks. So now he can respond by building Phoenixes. These Void Rays will serve as a temporary bridge to help keep Whiterot alive against the Mutalisks until he has a lot of Phoenixes. And sweet, getting a fleet beacon up. So that way we can get the Phoenix range upgrade. Rad! Oh, that's not the right one. There it is. Anion Pulse Crystals. So there we go. There we go. Aw, yeah. And then, of course, we have a very easy transition up into mass air. Notice that if our opponent tried to blast in with roaches, we'd still probably be able to hold this one off with our Void Ray army. So, good stuff. The rest of this game, I will actually sum up for you. Whiterot sits around building carriers, and then attacks with carriers and wins the game. So we're not going to, we're not going to do that much. We're not going to do too much further exploration on that point. But we've wound up in a really wacky, seemingly wacky situation with nothing but intuitive steps along the way. One thing I wanted to note in terms of tactics, it works very well to have your Phoenixes running all over. Just look at the mini-map. See those Phoenixes darting every which way. They're checking here. They're going to lift that Zergling. Yes, they are. Good. Moving up to this expansion, lifting, and that sort of thing. Some Zerglings killed this off. Whatever. We're still doing some harassment. What can you do with your Void... There. With the Void Rays? Void Rays plus Mothership Core is a kick-ass tactic. You just park them here, wander up, turn on the overcharge, kill this off, and then use the recall ability to head right back home again. Really, really solid little tactic. What is the next game I wanted to show? Alright, great. We're going to look at something that is, again, going to be a sort of... Which one is it? Daybreak 38. Daybreak 38. Against Mitsure. Again, same player, Mitsure. We're going to look at yet another game from Whiterot where we're going to be looking at this opening setup. We've seen Whiterot get into a nice position in 2 games using intuitive choices but winding up completely different spots. That's sweet. We're going to do another one that's sort of in between these two. It's going to look a little bit more traditional, but we're going to see still Whiterot doing a lot of intuitive responses. He's building up a pylon. Alright, cool. Whiterot builds a pylon, and then he scouts with a probe because he gets it. Scouting with all the probes. Oh, yes. And yet again, we're going to do this. Let me hit Alt-V. Yeah. Now let me... Or Alt-F. Why is it not changing my colors? There we go. Whiterot scouts in here and sees no pool. So great. We're already gearing up to go Nexus first. And then we see a hatchery. Oh my god, a hatchery! Huh. No problem. How's White Ra going to answer that bad boy? He's going to go ahead and go for a Nexus first. Nexus first immense. And Gateway first. Cool. Why? Because we saw the gateway, or we saw the pool go down. We see no gas, speeding things right along. Building of a forge. This probe continues to scout aggressively. Sees more drones. Sees more drones. Checks down here. Sees another expand. Dang, this guy's probably not going to try to build a lot of Zerglings to kill me off right away. Do I need to build a cannon? Hell no! Building the Cybernetics core first. Oh yes. Works in Wings of Liberty. Works here. Works a little bit better in Heart of the Swarm, just because you can get the Mothership core out quite early too. However, White Ra, first going to be favoring getting up the Stargate. Applying a little pressure, eventually getting up that cannon. Come on. There's the cannon. But we see the Mothership core cropping right up on into the action and early defensive unit. And now we're going to see yet another sexy piece of awesomeness. So that was unbelievably bad. He lost all that stuff. Ugh, grody. But let's look at what's going on back here in Camp White Ra. He's building an Oracle, which I know most of you are just totally getting super ecstatic about. This, certainly a good harassment unit. Look at the money, 150, 150. That is very expensive on gas. Now let me just note, something is expensive on gas or cheap on gas, not because of the amount that it costs, but because of the ratio of minerals to gas. So for instance, if a High Templar is 50 minerals and 150 gas, that is ridiculously expensive on gas. A Planetary Fortress is 550 minerals and 150 gas. It's relatively cheap on gas. They both use the same amount of gas. It's that relative balance, right? If it's even, like 150, 150, this is very expensive on gas. Probably the best way, the best way to denote this is to note that you get a lot more minerals than you get gas. So look at this. Half of all the gas every minute is going to one of these bad boys. In other words, building oracles means you're going to have them money left over. So what are we going to do with the money? We're going to expand. Right? Cool. If we were building Void Rays, it would be a little bit harder to expand, because Void Rays are a little bit more expensive on the minerals. No big deal. We're just going to be building ourselves our Oracle. We have a lot of money because we're struggling to expand. We very, very, very badly want to expand. There we go. Now notice we're getting close to that 9-minute mark. Egads, Batman, the 9-minute mark. Oh no! Oh no, the 9-minute mark! We're worried about a lot of attacks coming. These oracles could very well go now to do damage. But this is a smart move from White Ra. He's holding back until he feels like he has really secured himself, building himself up this wall of gateways at the front. Still chilling here with these three. Now starting to back up and build the Void Ray. If roaches were to have pushed early, we would have dealt with it. Roaches or Zerglings we would have been able to deal with. And that's one of the big reasons why they were waiting back. Certainly it's nice to attack with 3 and really catch the opponent by surprise than it is to, say, attack with 1 and only slightly catch him by surprise and do some damage. But defensively, that was smart to have waited until around 9.5 minutes when we could intercept an attack as we moved out. I'll also note, look at this attack path. The oracles are moving along the southern attack path. These oracles could have moved down here and did that stuff, but no, they move right along the attack path. Good stuff. See, moving right along the attack paths and then heading up. Why? So that way, if there is any attack, we can pull back, because we're getting close to 10 minutes. Until then, Void Rays! Oh, all these gateways. Honestly, the next thing that we'll probably be forced to do is to deal with what? Well, actually, I should do this. Deal with what? Well, we're going to get some good scouting information with these oracles in here. And we're going to see exactly what we're up against. Oh, cool. Hydralisk Infestation Pit. Nice. Oh god, no, I have to go back. I have to go back. Jack, we have to go back to green and red. So White Ra kills absolutely everything immediately, which, as a Protoss player, that seems fair. I think that's totally fair, and I'm happy about that. But as White Ra's doing this and sees all this stuff, an intuitive answer. Where's our Robo-Bay? Where is it? Where is it? Seriously, where's the Robo-Bay? I see it in production. Oh yeah, in StarCraft, or in Heart of the Swarm, you can click up here, and it just centers it. Cool. That, in my eyes, will be straight for Colossus production. And I'm probably just going to do the rest as normal. I think this is pretty nifty, getting some... Actually, I'm a little torn on going for Mass Void right here. I don't like this as much as I like, as doing something like this, double Robo. This feels very intuitive. We have seen it. We don't actually have to consider that many more possibilities. And also our harassment will be able to continue to pin him down. Awesomeness. Oh yeah. These are also useful later on. This is another one of these bold decisions that you wouldn't normally do unless you had seen someone going like Hydralisk and Infestation Pit, and then you saw the Hydralisks with the Oracles. Very clearly means we can get away with another expansion, because we are soon going to be having Colossus out. And you know, now that I say very clearly, I'm yet again neglecting the fact that Hydralisks do have speed now. That's fine. I'm fine being saying something that I am 70% comfortable with. Day 9, how do you know things about StarCraft? Because I watch so much StarCraft. So since Heart of the Swarm is new, and I have not actually seen that much of it, things like that statement about Hydralisks not being as threatening so you can expand, that's probably like 60-70% true. But either way, White Ra doing another nice little tactic. Keeping the Hydralisk on defense. This is the tactic I was telling you about earlier, and then you leave. Great. And in the meantime, we have all these Hydralisks, or excuse me, all these Colossi back here. And I think most of you will argue that a 5-base Protoss versus a 5-base Zerg is good for the Protoss. And in case any of you were in doubt, let me just show you that you don't actually need to have any doubt anymore. Alright, good. And then White Ra goes on and wins. Sweet. I have a sneeze incoming. Whatever, I can't get the sneeze out. In part 2, what we saw were some plays based upon air, where most importantly in the matchup is that right around 10 to 12 minute mark is when Zerg can do some big pushes. So around 9, we really got to say, how are we going to answer all of this stuff? In part 2, we got the chance to see White Ra opting to go for a 3 Stargate play, and so without any knowledge, he kind of has to go Void Ray. Based upon the resources he has, doesn't have enough to go triple Oracle, and also based upon what the Zerg can possibly do. Let me scratch my back before I go on. Great. And then in this game, we saw White Ra do another opening where he went Oracle and expanded. In all these games, he's getting a really ridiculously early third. But we're still seeing that even if he goes fast Oracle, or just goes Nexus before even building a Mothership core, if he goes for really early third or delayed post-Oracle third, White Ra is still doing this. What is my economy doing? If I'm going to take an early third, I need to make sure I have the money to do that. Or I should say specifically the minerals to do that. Going Oracle eats up all the gas and leaves a lot of minerals left over to expand. So nice. When we come back in part 3, we're going to watch 2 more games. One is a brief game where we're going to see White Ra defending some of those literal early pushes. And then we're going to see a game of White Ra getting completely frickin' owned by Hydralisk Swarm Host. So let's just go ahead and head away to part 3 right now. I may have said part 2. I meant part 3. We're going to go to part 3 right now. Be right back. Be right back.